Hi there, and welcome to my presentation about attitudes. My name is Val Burkell, and I'm doing this for my relational psychology class. I observed my behaviors based on this past Friday, where I got to go to Georgia Aquarium and swim or sit with sharks and rays with my best friend, Alyssa. And it ended up being a really overwhelming day, and I noticed that my attitude declined slowly from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. I woke up feeling extremely confident and happy and accepting myself for who I am in my own body, and just throughout the day, things that happened continue to overwhelm me. I got so overwhelmed with so many emotions I didn't even realize until the end of the day when I was by myself. So, going through this, I realized being around crowds is not my thing. And it is a lot easier for me to just suppress what I'm currently feeling while I'm around crowds, which in turn makes me realize I need time to process that out eventually. But even being with my friend makes me just want to be able to have a good time and stay positive while spending time together. And then, of course, being by myself is a totally different attitude than I have when I'm with a friend or in a crowd, being around crowds. Um, Biggest thing I feel like I relate with is the theory of reasoned action, where your relationship between attitudes and behaviors are affected by one another. So Bates says that our attitude, subject norms, and motivation all predict the likelihood of a behavior, which makes sense because when I think of who I'm around depends on how I'm going to react and how I'm going to behave based on if those people are people I have to be around, want to be around, people I admire, or if I look up to them. And if they're people I want to impress because I look up to them, then I'm going to be aware of my self efficiency and what I can and cannot do. And I understand that our attitude can change based on our environment and our situation, which leads me to the function of our attitude can serve our feelings, beliefs, and behaviors. And there are four issues that are the most important influences that affect attitude, which is why there are the focus for researchers to seek how to change destructive attitudes and reinforce positive ones, which are the intergroup relations, health relative behaviors, religious behavior, and humorous stimuli. I also really relate with the other saying that Sabates said, which is an attitude to which we are repeatedly exposed is likely to influence our own attitudes regarding the subject. So it's very easy for me the longer I'm around somebody who might have the same or have an attitude towards someone else. The longer I'm around that and the more I hear that, the more I start to feel the same way about that person. And that might not always be a positive thing, which leads me to what scripture has to say about your attitude. It reminds me of how we are to view and love others the way God does, not what this world says or does. And so the longer you're around somebody with a certain attitude, it's a lot easy to be influenced by that. But that is why scripture is so important to ground ourselves in it, because if we are grounded in it, then we cannot be moved and we will not be as easily influenced as we usually are. But we are from a sinful nature, which is why I feel like most of the scripture verses I found about our attitude was kind of teaching us, kind of going against that flesh against spirit battle that we have to face every day. Reminds us where our focus should be, which is on what is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, and admirable, because that is going to reflect God's character. And God shared with me this saying a few years ago in my prayer time to always ask Him to change the attitude of my heart. And I just remember that resonating with me because I felt God change me every time I pray that prayer. I felt Him with me and I felt Him helping me to give me the right attitude towards people, especially when it's hard to love others. So I really loved Psalms 139, 23 through 24 that says, Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. This reminds me that my attitudes can often be self serving. And this reminds me to ask God, change the attitudes of my heart to reflect his character. These are my references, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you.